It's Tuesday, the 13th of June, 2023. Welcome to the Fast Five by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, a lot of the country it's having a bit of a short week this week with a public holiday in most states yesterday, but there's plenty of stories around. Let's jump into story number 1. Support for the Indigenous voice has fallen below 50% on the yes-no question that will decide the referendum.
A poll in The Age and Sydney Morning Herald shows the yes vote has fallen to 49%. For 3 months in a row, the yes vote has been falling, demonstrating the massive job the proponents of the referendum have in front of them. It's the first time a major poll has shown the no vote in the majority. While residents in Victoria and New South Wales are in favour, other states aren't. The objections are strongest in Queensland, with only 44% of voters in favour of the voice. South Australia at 48%. Western Australia is 49%. The referendum at this point is unlikely to win a majority of votes in a majority of states, which it needs, according to the Resolve strategic poll.
So where are we up to then, Sean, on The Voice?
Well, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has rejected all calls so far to amend the Voice proposal before it goes to the Senate. That's expected to happen this week or perhaps next week. If it passes, it's pretty much cements the wording. Over the weekend, there were some high-profile advocates of the Voice, including Noel Pearson, warning that the yes movement lacks a clear message and isn't being heard above the no arguments.
I suppose the question that needs to be asked then, is it political leaning that's skewing the vote, given the coalition has recommended people vote against it?
Yes, but even Labor supporters are prevaricating. Support for the Voice among Labor voters has fallen from 75% in April, 69% in May, 63% in June. Support's been stable among Green voters at about 81%, but it's fallen among Coalition voters from 30% to 27% to 26% this month. Basically means 74% of Coalition voters are now on the no side. It is skewed in terms of political leaning, but even Labor supporters are falling away.
All right, on to story number 2 now, and the share of tax paid by Australia's top earners is at its highest level in at least a decade, Sean, with new data showing the top 1% contributed nearly a fifth of personal income tax revenue in 2020-21.
Figures released by the ATO last week show the average individual tax bill for the top 1% of earners was $317,000 in the period, up more than $47,000, according to analysis by the Financial Review. The release of the figures came as the latest national accounts show personal income taxes are eating up a near record 16% of household earnings, as wage inflation pushes workers into higher tax brackets. Last month's budget papers showed more than 50% of the total Commonwealth tax revenue will be paid by individual taxpayers next financial year. Surely we need some sort of tax reform on the back of we taxpayers paying all the taxes.
Story number 3, Sean, a rush of takeovers and a lack of new floats means the Australian share market will shrink this year for the first time since 2005.
Big mergers, particularly in the resources sector, will contribute to a $43 billion shrinkage in the market this year. Now, that's the first time it's gone backwards since 2005. Sydney Airport and Crown Resorts were both taken private last year, while Newcrest Mining is on the verge of leaving the bourse. It's under takeover offer from Newmont, the US organisation. Companies being taken over by foreign players or private equity isn't unusual, but normally there's a big list of initial public offerings to backfill the exchange. That simply hasn't happened. Since the start of last year, there's only been one float worth more than $100 million.
All right, I love this next story, story number 4, Sean. There's been some pretty hefty home purchases and sales by some big known names in the past few weeks.
There has. Outgoing Qantas chief executive Alan Joyce is one. He sold $17 million worth of shares in the airline just a few days after purchasing a penthouse in the Rocks overlooking the Sydney Opera House for about $9 million. Media's reporting that Joyce had held the shares since 2012 when he purchased them for $1.50. They were sold about 2 weeks ago at $6.74 a share. That'll net Joyce about $14.8 million. Not bad. He still has plenty of Qantas shares left too. Also, F45 co-founder Rob Deutsch and his wife Nicole Perso bought an apartment in Crown's One Barangaroo Tower for $25.5 million. And they have no mortgage, Michael. A few months back, Michael, they bought a Bellevue Hill house for $37.5 million, and they didn't need finance for that one either.
Not bad, is it? Story number 5, last one. Sean, this one's definitely for you because you're a bit of an apple fiend. I know this about you, and we've spoken in the past about the best kind of varieties of apples. Anytime there's a news story about apples, you seem to work it into the Fast Five somehow. Today, we have a story about a new super variety.
So one of the nation's largest apple growers, Red Rich Fruits, has spent $27 million developing a new variety known as the Cosmic Crisp. The group, which supplies to all the major supermarkets, has planted 360,000 trees of the variety, which was developed in the US, and the first Cosmic Crisp will be in stores next year. A Red Rich Fruits director, Matthew Pillai, told the Financial Review, "It doesn't oxidise, it's firmer and juicier." I just hope it tastes better, Michael. The humble apple needs a bit of a boost with per capita consumption about half what it was 20 years ago. And Michael, you'll be pleased to know that the Pink Lady is a top seller in Australia with 40% market share, followed by the Royal Gala and Granny Smith. Well behind them in number 4 and 5 positions are Fuji's and Red Delicious.
Oh, that has the makings of a very obscure pub trivia question, Sean.
It does.
And you may well win it, courtesy of the Fast Five. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Tuesday, the 13th of June, 2023. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. If 5 minutes isn't enough for you, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast Five by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.